Hi, I'm Madison Mary. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, please don't hesitate to click that subscribe button down below. And without further ado, let's get into my fantasy romance vlog. So in this vlog, I'm going to be reading 3 fantasy romances from Blood and Ash by JLA. It is February 26th when I'm starting this vlog, so I do plan on starting this tonight. I'm hoping to get it done before the end of the month, but we'll see if it bleeds into March. I don't know much about this one except for the fact that the ship in this is Poppy and Hawk. Then we have Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. These are all actually independently published too. This one I know is a dark fae fantasy romance. And the last one I have is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. This was actually one of the first books that was ever gifted to me when I started my booktube channel. This is from Kevin at Storyglyph. And I've read from Danielle L. Jensen before. She's the only one of these 3 authors that I've actually read previously from. I read Stolen Songbird by her back in 2017, 2018, maybe. And this one I know is about a princess who's been trained to be a spy, and so for her betrothal she has to kill him or spy on him or something like that. I'm gonna guess which one's gonna be my favorite. Right now my ranking, I'm guessing, is going to be, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna like From Blood and Ash the most, then Bridge Kingdom, then Fortuna Sworn. I still think they're all gonna be 5 stars, but I just think that I'm gonna like them in this order. That's it. I'll catch you up later. Bye. Hi, okay, so it's the next day and I've been reading From Blood and Ash. I am 183 pages in right now, so like I'm not going through it as fast as I thought I would, and I think it's just because it's a completely new world that I'm learning about right now. But I'm really enjoying it. It's really interesting because this is Jennifer L. Armentrout's first high fantasy. She's only really written paranormal and urban before. The magic system, the races, and the creatures that are in this book are very paranormal-esque. Oh, by the way, I barely know what this is about still because I'm still only a quarter of the way through the book, but I kind of know a bit more than I did when I started, I would hope. But there was a war that happened like many years ago, and from that there have now been 2 kind of factions. There are the people who live and, you know, worship the current king and queen, who believe they're the rightful rulers, and under them they believe in the gods. There's like a whole slew of gods in this world, and there are people who are descended from the blood of the gods or are blessed by the gods, and these people then become ascended, which is kind of like a process that happens every couple of years where these people go through a rite and then they become immortal. And it only happens to like the upper class. And then we have the opposite, and that is fact there were the Atlanteans who were killed and eradicated during that war. And from the Atlanteans there came these creatures, and also the Dark One. And the Dark One is this prince who the dissenters think is supposed to be the rightful ruler. And the Dark One is able to command these like really bad creatures that in my opinion are like werewolf-esque. But then we've learned that the Atlanteans, they used to have fangs, and they drain blood, and like they drink blood when they come to like their rite of age and things like that, which is why I'm like, vampires. So it's a really cool world and I'm really enjoying learning about it. It is a lot because it's a bit info dumpy, but in a way that I enjoy. Poppy is the maiden, which I've always known about, but being the maiden means that she was God's chosen. And so she's like the virginal goddess basically to everyone, and when she ascends it's going to be like this huge thing that will then help ascend all these other people, and she's like just this coveted virginal goddess basically. So she's very sheltered and she hates that she's sheltered. She's always wanted to fend for herself. She's wanted always to take control of her own life, and she knows that she plays an important role in society and she understands that. But she hates that it was never her choice. She hates that she was forced into this role. And she also has this power. She's able to feel people's pain. And conversely, she can also take away people's pain. So I feel like there's definitely going to be more to her power that we're going to learn about later on. But that's kind of the basics of it right now. And then the other character we've always known about is Hawk. And Hawk Flynn, he's like this guardsman. He has just been assigned as her personal guard after a whole slew of events. I don't think that's going to be very spoilery because I think a lot of people know that, but that's basically what he is. And he's very young, he's very coveted in the guard because he rose through the ranks very quickly, and he's like a cold-hearted, cold-blooded killer and things like that. He reminds me a lot of Hunt from Crescent City. I also think I might have spoiled myself for some things just from looking at fan art. Like, I'm not going to go back and double check because I don't want to like spoil myself just in case I'm correct here, but I'm a little frustrated if I did accidentally spoil myself because damn it. So yeah, those are my current thoughts on this world, everything about it, and just my feelings. Oh, the main reason why I wanted to come on here is the female friendship in this. So Poppy has a companion who is assigned to her because, you know, people aren't really supposed to get close to her, so she was assigned a companion when she was like 12 years old. And this girl, her name is, I think it's Tawny. I love her. Oh my god, their friendship is so fun, and she's just like such a, I really enjoy their female friendship. It's really, really great, and I'm always happy when I see female friendships in fantasy books. And when I go back to reading, I want to make it to at least halfway tonight because I want to finish this book tomorrow as I have other secret plans. But yeah, that's it for now. Okay, bye. Hello. Okay, so it is 2 in the morning, but I am like a little over halfway through the book at the moment. This is what I have left. This one at least is not nearly as steamy as I thought it was going to be, but just fine. Like, I don't mind that. I like the relationship that's brewing between Poppy and Hawk, but I don't feel too strongly about it, which is surprising because I really thought I would be like a 1100% shipper of them, and I do like them together. They're fun to follow, but I don't have this like complete obsession with them yet, which is what I thought I would have by now. That being said, I do really like Poppy and her development throughout this book. She's definitely an interesting character to be following, and I will also say that we just had a plot development that I did not see coming. I was genuinely like, oh shit. So that was actually quite nice because it's not too often that a book can make me be like, oh, I did not see that coming. So I always give serious props for that. But yeah, there are a lot of like really great scenes, a lot of quotable moments, really funny, snarky banter interactions that I'm a huge fan of. There's just something missing from it, and I definitely think that from here on out it's about to get a lot more high stakes. So I think that this back third is going to be the make or break for if it's going to stick to a 4-star or if it's going to become a 5-star. Yes, I will catch you all in the morning. Goodbye. I need to very quickly do a little spoiler because I have these thoughts and I need to say them, okay? The sex scene, their first, $10 says it's gonna be their first and only one in this book. As good as it was, I have 3 things to say. She has mentioned throughout this that he moves with like a natural grace, and then after he's done some things, she mentions how sharp his teeth are, and then once they're done, he says, promise me you'll never forget, no matter what happens next week, next day, next nothing, that this was real. Okay. Couple that with the fact that Kieran has been kinda suspicious makes me think 1000% that he is an Atlantean. There's no way in all hell that he is not. There's no way. I mean, I don't know how he doesn't like drink or anything like that, but I don't know. And then she also said it's like he's been alive for many, many years. Come on, he has to be an Atlantean. Okay, and just non-spoiler really quickly, I really am enjoying this book. I really, really am. But there's something about their romance that I'm just not fully invested in. I don't know why. Maybe part of it is the fact that he constantly throughout this book is like, you're so unexpected. You're not who I thought you would be. So many times. Like, can't he say anything else to her other than, you're so unexpected? Like, okay, we get it. You said it twice. You don't have to say it 12 times. Like, I don't love their relationship. I've loved everything else in this book but their relationship, and it's so weird to me. I'm gonna keep reading, but I needed to do this update because my brain was just like, oh, you know. Okay, so I'm still like, I finished it. I finished it. I went into this book so 100% sure it was gonna be a 5-star, and Okay, it's a 4-star. It's a 4-star, and I think that's going to be shocking for a lot of people. I still think that the biggest letdown for this book is the romance, which is just so mind-boggling to me. It's definitely a series that has a lot of potential, and this was my first Jennifer L. Armentrout book too, so I will admit that. And this is JLA's first high fantasy, so I do think it's a big part of it. I feel like when I heard the series, I heard a lot about like it being like a new adult, and so I expected the steam to be a lot higher than it was, but like I said, she's a virginal goddess. Like, the steam isn't really that high in it because of that. That is my thoughts for this book. I think that the other two that I read, my thoughts aren't going to be like obviously as massive for them, mainly because they're not even half the length. Yeah, I'll keep you updated. It might be a day or two until I update you again, just because I'm starting a new vlog up, but yeah, goodbye. Hey, okay, so I just started Fortuna Sworn tonight. I'm only 40 pages in, I think, yeah. So we're following a character named Fortuna Sworn. She is a nightmare, and she is the last of her kind. The only other person that she knew that was her kind was her brother Damon, but he mysteriously disappeared 2 years ago. When this starts out, she has been kidnapped. In this world, people who are of the magical, you know, nature, like werewolves, shifters, fairies, vampires, things like that, people try to capture them in order to sell them off. So she has been captured, and she ends up getting saved by this fairy. And then when she gets saved by him, she then, you know, goes off on her own, returns back to her normal life, and then like he shows up again, and she's like, "Why are you stalking me?" And he's like, "Well, I have a gift for you." And he gives her a mirror, and in that mirror is a vision, an image of her brother, alive, tortured, but alive. And he's like, "I will give you more information on this if you marry me." And she's like, "The hell?" So that's where I'm at right now, his whole proposal to her and things like that. So that's kind of the basic gist of it, and what I think this is going to go for is I think that she's going to agree to this bargain because she wants to know what happened to her brother. There have been like 2 things so far that kind of irked me a little bit the wrong way. The first one was the chef at the restaurant that she works at. He is on the autism spectrum, and that's kind of like thrown in there towards you. And I mean, I can't speak to that rep myself, but there was just something about it kind of feeling like a token character, like token representation. And then the owner's wife has an eating disorder, and that's also just, you know, thrown in there, kind of like a defining characteristic for this character. And as someone who can speak to any sort of representation from a personal experience standpoint, I am always really irked when books use eating disorders to characterize a character and just leave it at that from like 2 or 3 sentences. And I didn't like the way that it was put into the book, and it really rubbed me the wrong way. That's just one thing. It's been really great otherwise. It's just those 2 things just didn't sit that well with me. So we shall see. I still have high hopes, and I'm also like excited to see how Fortuna's like powers are really going to come into play, because we've seen her use them like a little bit to like mess with people, but it definitely seems like there's like a deeper well to her power that she hasn't explored yet. So I feel like she's gonna be pretty kick-ass. And I have a feeling that this fairy dude is like a king or something. Like, I don't really know what he is, but that's just kind of the feeling I get. The synopsis doesn't give any of that away from what I'm looking at, so I won't reveal anything if I'm correct. But yeah, that's it, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hey, so I'm currently 50% through the book. I don't know exactly how I'm feeling about this book. I thought I was gonna like instantly love it, but it's definitely a darker take on the Fae, and it's one of those like dark Fae stories where, you know, all the creatures are bad. You know, we're in the unseelie court, which is always like, it's never the good court to be in of the 2. There's a lot of like dark topics with it, with abuse and torture and assault, and just like literally a whole myriad of all those awful things are in this book, which is not what I expected. And I do appreciate that she's taken a more traditional route with the fair folk, because they are traditionally, you know, they're not great people, beings, you know. I'm kind of in the same boat as Fortuna in this, which is the fact that she shouldn't like Coleth, who is the, you know, the fairy dude that she's married to. She doesn't want to like him. He's an awful man. He's done shitty things. He doesn't trust her. Like, you know, he's not a good person. And he does try and do some nice things for her, but, you know, overall, he ain't. It's an interesting way to read it because she's like, I don't like you. I hate you. This is so stupid. But at the same time, ever since they were mated, which is weird because, like, the marriage is basically creating a mating bond. So it's interesting to see different views on how mating bond is within different aspects of literature. Hopefully it will pick up in the back half because I did really want this book to be a 5-star. I wanted these all to be a 5-star, and at this point it's not looking like that. I do not understand how this, okay, anyway. I'm not gonna go into that because I could be completely wrong and the back half of this could be absolutely phenomenal, so it's fine. I'll keep you updated and yeah. Hey, okay, so I finished the book. For a majority of this book, it was like a 3.5 stars, and then I don't want to call it like a cliffhanger, but like there's a reveal at the very, very end, and I was like, and I don't know, something about it, and just like this one character, it just makes me want to give it a 4 stars. It feels like a much darker and grittier take on kind of ACOTAR in a sense, and I only say this, and like I don't want to say that like every single book that does this has to be compared to ACOTAR, but like, okay, when a character has to undergo 3 trials that are all extremely reminiscent of the trials that Feyre undergoes in ACOTAR, like I can't not compare it to that. I'm sorry, like I can't. And I think that she did fine with her trials. I thought that the first trial in this was great, and then the next 2 were like kind of the second one was seriously subpar. Like the second trial was just what? And the third trial was just extremely ACOTAR-esque, and I don't know. I do like kind of seeing how Fortuna starts taking on this role throughout this book of being a nightmare, which is, you know, what she is. She's a nightmare, and she starts taking on this role of embracing that and thinking, you know what, I'm in this world with these creatures that are just awful, and I can't afford that, and fear is all I know, and so I'm going to show these people to respect me because of fear. And I appreciate that. She's definitely a character who is extremely morally grey. I immediately want to pick up book 2 though. Like when I finished from Blood and Ash, I was like, oh wow, okay, that's how we're ending it. And then I was kind of like, oh, okay. This one I finished and I was like, what? Now I need book 2. Like this is a series where I know that it's going to get better and better with each book, because the way that she set everything up has me really excited for continuing on with this series. So I just think that like, even though the last quarter of this was like awesome, does that last quarter make up for the other 3 quarters of this book? 3.5 is not a bad rating, okay people? 3 stars is an average book. It's a book that I'm like, hey, I enjoyed it, but I'm not gonna go run around the streets and be like, read this book right now. A 4-star book is a book where I'm like, hey, you should read this book. Like, this is a really good book. Like, please read this book now. And, well, no, if I say that, then maybe from Blood and Ash. Oh. It's 2:30 in the morning. I can't do this. I'm just gonna Oh, I do want to say that I didn't realize this before I picked the book up, but KJ Sutton actually has a trigger warning for this book, like when you actually pick it up like on Amazon, and the trigger warnings are sexual harassment, toxic relationships, and slavery. And then for book 2, it's the same triggers plus rape. So I'm very terrified, but yeah, I'm very intrigued by this series. I'm feeling a little bit lost at the moment with how I'm rating everything. I don't really know what's going on. Hi, so it is the 8th, technically now it's the 9th because, you know, it's 1 in the morning. And I'm a little less than halfway, and I'm really enjoying it. I'll give you a proper like thought processing of the book in the morning. It's way more of a slow burn, and it's more so focusing on our characters, and it's just a lot more traditional, and I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, I'll talk to you more about it in the morning, but it's going really well, and it is very easy to fly through, and it's very addictive, so yeah. Okay, so I am taking a little bit of a study break right now. Why am I filming right in front of the sun? Because I literally cannot see jack all. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the Bridge Kingdom. Lara is one of the king's daughters. He has 11 or 12 daughters that he had with 11 and 12 different women. And he had them all trained from a young age because years ago, 15 years ago, there was a treaty put in place between the kingdom of Marydrina and the kingdom of Ithacana, and the two of them came to a trade agreement because Ithacana is really revered because it is the Bridge Kingdom, which is where the name of the book comes from. But the treaty agreed that they would increase trade, but at the same time, one of the princesses of Marydrina would marry the son, the heir of Ithacana. And when this takes place, that son has now become the king because his parents died. And so he is now invoking the treaty in order to get married to one of the daughters. And so we follow Lara, who is the chosen daughter, to go and marry him, but she's actually been trained since, you know, the treaty was put in place in seclusion with her sisters to be actually a spy, assassin, infiltrator when she gets married. And so she goes there, and her whole goal is that she has a year to assassinate and kill him without it being too obvious that it was her who did it. And so she's now in Ithacana. It happens within the first 2 chapters. She gets taken there. She's like, okay, let's see what we can do. And so we do go between Lara's POV and the king of Ithacana, who is Aaron, his POV. But it's mainly Lara's. For every 5 chapters of Lara, we get a single chapter from Aaron's POV. But I'm really enjoying it, and I think that it's interesting because we really don't have that much of their relationship yet, even though we're a little under halfway through the book. They definitely have shared looks between one another. They both think that the other's really attractive, but because they're enemies, they don't trust each other, and they're not open to letting one another in, and they're very staying apart. So we haven't seen them interacting too much. And what's really interesting is I have a lot of different theories in the fact that I don't think that Aaron's kingdom, Ithacana, is actually in the wrong. I think that it's actually Lara's dad, the king of Marydrina, who's actually been lying to his daughters this entire time, making Ithacana seem like it's some horrible place. And I bet she's gonna figure that out soon, that her dad's been lying to her, and that maybe she shouldn't be assassinating him, and that he's actually a good person. If she instead turns against her own kingdom, it could be the better choice. I don't know. That's just kind of the feeling I'm getting, and my guess. But I really like that she's really kick-ass because she is smart. She's really, really smart. Everything she does is very calculated. So, she knows when to hold back her tongue. She knows when to act docile, and she knows also that there's some certain points where she has to step up and do certain things secretly, and she's constantly, her mind's always going. It's a really, really interesting book, and I'm definitely loving it. It's definitely fantasy romance, but I would say, depending on how the back half goes, this one compared to the other two leans more on the fantasy side than the romance side. I will say that the more I've thought about it, because as you know, I had that whole mental breakdown the other night because I could not figure out what I wanted to rate the other two. I think I'm settling on 3.5 for both of them. I've read other 4-star reads that I've enjoyed more than it. I still don't know. I still don't know what I'm doing with that damn book. From Blood and Ash is just such a difficult book to actually know what I want to rate it, because I enjoyed it. It was really fun to try and figure things out, but I didn't really feel the romance, and it's not exactly something that's stuck with me after I finished it. So I'm really hoping when I get to the second book in that series, I enjoy it more. At this point, this is an easy 4-star as of right now, so hopefully it gets even better and I can rate it a 5, because if I don't have a 5-star book in this video, I'm going to give up on everything. Wow, what a model, the picture of perfection. Okay, now you're just staring at me. Hey baby, mommy loves you. It's 5 stars. It was so good. I'm so happy. Oh, my wrist just cracked. This last 80 pages, I sped through it. Like I was like a speed demon reading that. Like I half comprehended everything I read just because the stakes, they were raised so high. I was terrified for what was happening and what was going to happen, and like just the inevitability of some things. I was just like, oh my God, this isn't gonna end up well. But I was just like, I need to keep, I need to get out. Oh my God. I just bought the second one. It was so expensive because it's the hardcovers. That was so good. The romance in it is very much slow burn, enemies to lovers, and nothing really steamy happens until like the last 50 pages, I want to say. So like, do know that going into it. But I loved it. It was so good. It's a very typical high fantasy. So do know that going into it, compared to the others, which, yeah, the other two were high fantasy, but they weren't to the extent of this one, which goes way more into court politics, kingdom politics, fighting, battling, just the gore of it all, and just like, wow. I will admit, the sex scene in this was better than the sex scene in From Blood and Ash, so spilling that tea. But it's interesting because when I read Danielle Jensen's Songbird book, I really did enjoy it. I think I gave it, I still remember, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars when I read it, because it was a book that really stuck with me because it was like ogres and like those kind of creatures, and I hadn't really read like a fantasy romance with like ogres in it before, so that was like, what am I reading? This is so different. It does have sexy ogres, so do know that. I really did love it, and like this one, there's a lot of twists and turns in it, and the ending of each of her books is just so like high stakes. You're just so afraid for what's about to happen. I was just like, the only complaint I have about this book is that there's a lot of descriptions to do with like the technicalities of maneuvering a ship and boats and vessels. And a lot of that was lost on me. I found myself having to reread the passages where they were like explaining like rigging the boats and like maneuvering them in certain ways and like doing things like those were lost on me. I was like, I don't get what's going on. I can't envision it in my head. But everything else was great. So, thank the gods this worked out well. Otherwise, I was going to add another book onto this vlog because I didn't want it to be a complete fail. So this was definitely a 5, maybe like a 4.75 if I'm being like truly picky. But I honestly, compared to everything else that's been going on, I'm just going to give it a 5 because... But yeah, I don't think I have anything else to really mention for this. Let me know if you enjoyed this, if you want me to do more vlogs focusing on fantasy romance. If you do, make sure you click the like button down below. If you want to see more of me, please subscribe to my channel, and until next time, thanks a bunch everyone. Bye!